All right, it is currently 5:08 p.m. and on this day in 2024, I am maintaining documentation showing what is indeed at 6:13 p.m. The fake sun that remained over my apartment, and it is so supernatural, so extraordinary, and that which is a crucial component to the gang stalking system. This is why I sought to document it, and I've been documenting this phenomenon that follows me where I go. This is the supernatural occurrence relevant to what is psychological torture while a population that is pursuant to a government program which is unlawful in the United States and inhumane anywhere in the world amongst mankind. Gang stalking. And gang stalking is demonic activity. This demonic activity is used to psychologically torture the one who is indeed being targeted. And this is targeting by the government, and this is shown and proven and understood and put into its proper context in the environment which defies nature, such as a sun that remains over one address all day long. This is what I documented on April 7, 2024. Today is April 7, 2025. And you are able to analyze the natural environment in the ways in which meteorologists, those who study, such as where the sun is, the ecological location of the sun, which is not something that we are all observing everywhere in the United States from the exact same angle, from looking at it from the same exact manner in which I am experiencing it. I'm looking up at it, and it certainly is not an idle source that would remain over one building. It's very easy to document when that one building is the building that you're inside of, and it remains over your head at that address, even to the left or the right of you while you are at that same building. That's the evidence of the supernatural environment. It is referred to as the specific environment where the federal government is exposed for what is occurring in the United States that California is practicing. As the Ontario Police Department, the Ontario Fire Department, the Ontario International Airport, the people of the state, the civilian population who are the people of the state of California, not individual citizens, are gang stalking amongst that environment. And this is what I documented in video at what is, let you hear.
The light source that remains, it's right here. This is called crossing path. They're walking in the engineer light. This is monitoring. This is why you have what is the maintenance of a light source that's rising and then supposedly setting. This is no iteration of any natural.
And by supposedly, I mean the entity, the demon possessed, the corrupt government that operates amongst illusions and then relies on those illusions that it asserts are facts and are reality. This is public corruption where the government is practicing witchcraft. The government is dealing in demons, engaging in demonic activity. The demon possessed that are in positions of government. The corrupt that are engaging in sexual violence and public corruption are those who are serving Satan. And this is proof of it in that demonic environment. And these are essentially illusions. The illusion, that's why I'm using the terms that I'm using in this video, supposedly setting. It's not that I didn't document. I'm documenting you're looking at the fake sun that is indeed engaging in that which would be referred to as the sunset. It's just that the natural environment would never include that. And that's why I use such terms when you are clearly looking at what is the impossible. And this is, again, not the natural environment. This is the creating the illusion of an environment where demons are stalking, creating the illusion of First Amendment rights, the illusion of privacy, the illusion of what is the natural environment, the illusion of lawful conduct by the government, the illusion of having jurisdiction, the illusion of having what is the authority under the Constitution to adjudicate over anything concerning that gang-stalked American citizen throughout the courts in California. All right?
Environment, and you're looking at malice while a third-party group stalker is outwardly appearing as though they're just exercising, and they're actually monitoring. This is actually demonic. They're patrolling. They're walking in circles around the property, and they are not driving up the street. They're crossing path, and while one vehicle after another crosses path, it's demonic patrolling. All right, and you're looking at what is engineer light all over the property, including on this tree.
Good job. I was just going to point that out.
Attention. This is engineer light. It's 6:30 p.m. Excuse me, 6:13 p.m. It's now 6:14 p.m. And the entity is maintaining engineer light inside of my apartment. And so I want you to see the light source. I want you to see the engineered light that's all over the property, all over the land. All right. This is not sunlight. This is engineered light. Remember the multiple shadows. Remember the light you saw illuminated on my ceiling. That's what covers the land. This is demonic at its core. I want you to see the light source, but then I want you to see the engineered light inside of my apartment, okay? I want you to see the dynamic light that's on the wall. This is coming through closed blinds. And that light source that you see outside, it's on my pillows here, just touching surfaces. This is the presence of what is constructive presence of the state lacking any warrant or probable cause to place you under surveillance, criminal monitoring in concert with the people, all right, who are maintaining a specific environment as well, and doing so while maintaining real-time knowledge all at once of any and everything that I'm doing inside of the private space. That's the sex offense. And it is also what is occurring in that very specific environment that is maintained. This is an environment. So in other words, remember, demons are stalking in your path with light. This is occurring in the environment. So in other words, you have what are demons that are stalking in the path in light, and it's literally occurring through the environment. And this is what I mean by a population of the demon possessed. This is the secret.
All right, so currently at what is 5:14 p.m., the demon residing gang stalking by residents is going to a mental asylum. She is gang stalking with, as you can look at the video, I'm zooming in on the gang stalker that resides in the apartment where I've remained subject to this pattern of conduct that she is engaging in and is facilitating. She is a quote-unquote hitman where the government is targeting an American citizen. The government does so through those who have the closest relationship in concert, in addition to the entire population. But those that are closest, meaning the targeted individual whose name they can identify, their family members, their so-called friends and peers, even fellow church members, they're all engaged in the pattern of conduct, and it is demonic, and the entity is ceaselessly engaged in it, and there is no exception. Whether you're being gang stalked at church, which you are, or you're being gang stalked at home. Like the mental health patient in Unit 55 at 5:14 p.m., she is stalking with amplified noise. This is a demon-possessed person that's engaged in what is monitoring. And the simultaneous engagement in what is a loud boom at the same time that I press pause on this phone right now, as it's currently 5:15 p.m., and while the fake sun is remaining in perfect alignment with the same apartment where she lives, gang stalking as a lifestyle. Someone over 55 with no job is gang stalking with the government, who you saw using helicopters, airplanes, and fire department vehicles to gang stalk with her and the entirety of this property. That is what is ongoing, and I want to make sure that I'm showing you this with regard to what's happening on the same day at 6:13 p.m., where the entity is gang stalking still to date at what is the current time, 5:15 p.m., and I'm going to go ahead and show that, and then I'm going to go show you what I documented at the same exact time. This is the fake sun, where the mental health patients are indeed gang stalking, okay? They're doing so by residents. This is where also the fake sun rises at 7:34. By presence in the path, you are living in the specific environment. The entity is doing so at what is 5:16 p.m., where this third party at Unit 41 is gang stalking with the demon above in 55, surrounding with noise, surrounding in the engineered light, surrounding on behalf of the government that has no warrant or probable cause, and they are indeed going to what are mental asylums. This same demon that you see engaging in gang stalking by residents outside is gang stalking with everyone else inside of their apartments, and doing so in the same manner where the fake sun is over me while they're pacing to the dumpster at 10 o'clock in the morning. That's malice. This is the entity that does not care about losing custody of their children, that does not care about sexually violating another woman, while doing so on behalf of a government that is doing so in the first place to psychologically torture, sexually violate, and murder. That's why you're gang stalking. Okay, this is what Woodside Senior Apartments as a whole property is engaging in, and this is what is not outside of my bedroom window. This is not going to be any sunset through my bedroom window in Los Angeles on the same day at the same time. It is the P.O.C., however. It is the pattern of conduct where the entity is using communication devices as a means of activity creation. While the picture goes in and out, it's called light activity and audible activity. This psychological torture, while the entity, pursuant to the same demonic pattern, is engaging in what is the elements of monitoring. Those elements of monitoring are underway by human beings who are demon possessed. That demonic activity is underway while the entity is using communication devices inside of the home, engaging in what is use of the appliances inside of your home. This is what is people who are demon possessed, and the people happen to be the government. So the government is being prosecuted. And this is what's underway in Los Angeles. And the light source that's over building 1818, as I'm looking outside of my bedroom window at 6:13 p.m. and capturing video of it, the entity is engaging in what is a conclusive and a pattern of conduct which is so specific, so unique, so impossible to naturally occur. In other words, no one can make it up, and I don't control the circumstances regarding what's in the environment. The entity is, by the documentation itself, prosecuted beyond a reasonable doubt, engaging in what is a targeting system that is unprecedented. And this is the inability for anyone, even those in the legal profession and the medical profession, to deny the spiritual realm. The demon possessed that is gang stalking is operating within the spiritual realm to gang stalk American citizens. Also to falsely depict their character while they rely on that which is very demonic All right, that engaging in gang stalking in ways in which gang stalking itself is depicted as something that's maintained as some sort of narrative singularly maintained by those who are suffering from, who must be or presumably or falsely depicted in other words as suffering from some sort of mental illness. But the evidence directly rebuts that. That is nothing other than the pattern of conduct, and it's criminal defamation. All right, now that's just the beginning. I'm going to go ahead and get into the video evidence. I want to show you in this video, this is on this day in 2024, the fake son never left Los Angeles outside of my apartment. And in the morning, this is where the fake son remained, which is what I documented at 7, looks like 7, what time is this video captured? 7:44. Go ahead and show you the fake son. Where the entity is, again, this is not sunlight, nor is it the sun. That is indeed outside of my apartment in Los Angeles. And on the same day, at the same time, the entity is engaging in what is a pattern, and a specific one, a supernatural one at that. The sun is engaging in what is idle presence over me inside of one building at one address from the beginning until the end of the day. And that's exactly what's happening on the same day, even at the same time, for the duration of the day in Los Angeles, where the entity is also gang stalking me by the Los Angeles Police Department, which is what I suffered on this day and what I continuously suffered as I maintained documentation about it. This is why the demon in Unit 41 that's gang stalking by sitting on the staircase with a minor child that's pacing around under that, in that engineer light, under that fake sun, without a care in the world. He's going to a mental asylum, and he's gang stalking me with the demon inside of Unit 55, who is the means whereby audible activity is simultaneously occurring while I operate my device, and the communication devices such as the television are a means of systematically following what I'm doing. That's what you're doing when you're monitoring someone. You're following while you create activity with noise and light, and you are stalking that person while you do so. This is what a whole population in Ontario is doing, and they're going to prison at Woodside Senior Apartments and mental asylums at Woodside Senior Apartments for doing so. Michael Gherkin, Michael Lorenz, Alan D. Wapner, Paul Leon. These are some of others, amongst others, who are going to be removed from the positions that they currently have while they are demon-possessed, gang-stalking sex offenders, terrorist leaders, who are currently in positions of authority while they are facilitating this egregious sex offense of monitoring, gang stalking, as it is underway in Ontario. And you are juxtaposing and recognizing the proof beyond a reasonable doubt, by the way, that it is in fact what is nothing other than gang stalking, as that specific environment surrounds me, where the LAPD engaged in a well-documented pattern of targeting me in that specific environment that's in LA, outside of my bedroom window, where the fake sun is rising over me, like I document in this video, and it is setting in alignment to me, like you see in this video, at 6:13 p.m. That is the entity from 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 11 hours later. The sun is on only the opposite side of me while I'm inside of the same building at the same address, where the sunrise and the sunset is happening around me, where I'm also being gang stalked by the people of the state who are demon possessed and who are engaging in the psychopathic disorder, personality disorders of those who are demon possessed. That is demon possession affecting the mental illness, the mental health of those who are engaging in this criminal activity. While the government engages in it, the people of the state are as well, and they are indeed engaging in what is stalking and monitoring one person together. That's the significance of the sun being outside of my living room window in the morning, like I am documenting here, as you can clearly see. And as I documented at 6:13 p.m., that sun never ceased to be over me, as I documented it for the duration of the day on this day in 2024. So I want to show you the fake sun in its zenith. I've been speaking a little bit. This is the engineer light.
Order is underway by a government, and this is speaking to the presence of this environment inside of the private space. This is speaking to
the same pattern of conduct is underway, like I'm documenting inside of Tracy Banks's apartment, engineer light, that's appearing on the hallway closet doors in order that I can be molested with that which is not even naturally occurring. It's not sunlight that's piercing horizontally, manifesting in the depths of the apartment, when the doors close, when the windows are closed, when the blinds are closed, and light is moving all about through the peephole, across the ceiling, fanning across the cabinets. That's in order to, first of all, harass and terrorize. Also, it is to molest the person, to surround the person. When my shadow is appearing on the ceiling above me, I'm being molested with engineer light while I'm subject to federal group stalking and monitoring. And it will be the prosecution of the government for the sex offense of stalking with light. When you are monitoring someone, that is keeping someone under surveillance, that is stalking someone. This is what LAPD, Karen Bass, All right, the city of Los Angeles, the state of California is doing on this day. That's the significance, and that's the pattern with the engineer light inside of the apartment in Los Angeles where I resided, and the pattern of engineer light that you can see inside of the apartment where I remain in Ontario, California, as I document throughout the day. The entity is maintaining this light source, and let me show you the light source because the blinds are closed when you're looking at this light activity in my living room. The blinds are closed. It's appearing at a distance away, and that light activity then, as my documentation shows, if you follow it, that engineer light that creates the magnified size of the closed blind slats, the string that holds them together, that's magnified in size, and then that light activity just drags on the floor up until about 3 or 4 hours later. That engineer light just stays on my living room floor, and that is documented. That's called stalking with light. Has nothing to do with sunlight. It's the same thing that's happening in Tracy's apartment, where the engineer light is on the living room wall, on the west living room wall, creating the shadow of my magnified size of my hand as I put my hand through it, and then I take pictures and video of it, and that light travels across the west living room wall, across the north living room wall, the hallway closet door, and onto the ceiling, into the kitchen, and the engineer light remains framing the front door all day long, regardless of where the fake sun is, whether it's shining or covered up, whether it's on the east or west side of the same front door of Tracy Banks's apartment. That's the same pattern of stalking with light. It's not sunlight, neither is that the sun.
That includes a homeless person that is in the path of the targeted individual that is covered in the specific environment. Okay, it is criminal maintenance of presence by a state, and this is the demonic, ritualistic methods of targeting an American citizen, and this is what the government is engaging in. And as you're looking at this, at the specific environment inside of my private space, as you've also seen it inside of my work office, you also see it all over the property. You see it while I'm on means of public transportation, as I remind you about the documentation that's already captured. You see it while I'm inside of any third party's vehicle, all right, which you would ordinarily speak to.
All right, so I want you to see, let me get out of full screen so you can see it. Again, this is where the fake sun began on April 7, 2024, and this is where it remained. That's what I'm capturing at 6:13 p.m. And this is the case at 4:17 p.m. And that's where I want to start this video. I just want to get to where the sun was rising on this day in Los Angeles and where the sun set. It never left Los Angeles. That's not the natural environment. That's where federal group stalking and monitoring that I remain subject to. That was P.O.C. headquarters. And where I am in Ontario, and I am using what was happening in the environment, speaking to the gang stalking system that L.A. County was engaging in, the city of Los Angeles, the people of the state of California, Alvarado Gardens, speaker companies, in the same way that is underway in Ontario, California, San Bernardino County, Paul Leon in the city of Ontario, the people of the state of California, the civilian population in Ontario, the people of the state that are gang stalking at Woodside Senior Apartments, AVANATH Capital Management. It's the same pattern of conduct. All right, and so the entity is doing so, and the proof of that is the supernatural occurrence that the sun would engage in, first of all, the pattern of rising and setting, and the duration of time that I've documented. I've already documented the sunrise here at Woodside Senior Apartments. This morning I got the fake sun over me in its zenith during the 11 a.m. hour, and it is still at Woodside Senior Apartments as I step out during the course of this video after 5 p.m. where the people of the state are openly engaging in domestic terrorism that they are also aware is being documented. That's documentation of impunity, not innocence. It's documentation of what is malice, not sanity. These are psychopaths, and it's going to be used against the very people of the state who are also violent sex offenders engaging in surveillance with the government in bathrooms, monitoring genitalia, stalking you in bathrooms. Something as creepy and demented and psychotic as stalking someone in a bathroom is accomplished while the people of the state are gang stalking everywhere you go on a ceaseless basis. And so the sun never left Woodside Senior Apartments today either. That's within the pattern of conduct, and so I wanted to show you not only the fake sun rising and setting while I remain in Los Angeles on this day in 2024, but I want to show you what I documented, the purpose of starting this video and giving you that context of what is indeed the POC while the entity is rising and setting a fake sun, and also the juxtaposition, another angle of analysis when you are at the same time showing you the purpose of these screen recordings to show you what is also not happening at the exact same time, even down to what is same day 1 year later at the same time at 4:17. I'm getting this video at 4:18 p.m., which you can see on the bottom. And this is the also the evidence of what never left, which is the sun never left my address in Los Angeles. So how in the natural environment that is, which is always how you are, that's always the standard. That's always what you're comparing the specific environment to. That's how you're recognizing the illusion that the demons suffer with, that they're going to be prosecuted by, and it's also going to be used to diagnose their actual mental illnesses of psychopaths who are maliciously targeting one person, which is a well-documented pattern of conduct, not innocently in that specific environment. They're in that environment engaging in that highly passive-aggressive and psychopathic pattern of gang stalking in that environment with communication devices while engaging what is monitoring the evidence with the documented impunity. You're not engaging in the pattern of conduct ignorantly. And that's what the entity is doing when they're sitting right in plain view, living at the crime scene, stalking in helicopters and planes and fire trucks at the crime scene, pacing in and out of the parking lot, which is at the crime scene, even while the entity is being documented. That's all impunity. That's all the pattern of conduct as well. That's the significance of gang stalking amongst the population. The population is shown to be the group of gang members who are psychopaths as well, because that is the pattern of conduct where you are not innocently in amongst that supernatural environment, and you are not innocently or ignorantly engaging in the behavioral pattern of always making sure that you are maintaining that obsessive presence that is activity creation, while you just so happen to be getting documented for it. That terrorism, in the same way that anybody that wants to murder people by blowing up buildings and skyscrapers, that level of impunity that is inherent to continuously seeking to do so, regardless of the fact that there is an investigation about your tendency to engage in blowing up buildings, terrorizing American citizens as an American citizen in this country, or as somebody granted the privilege to be in this country, and you're engaging in such methods of terrorism. The same analysis will be applied with regard to the prosecution of federal group stalking and monitoring domestic terrorists who are acting with that psychopathic, passive-aggressive, very malicious pattern, malicious demeanor with regard to gang stalking in plain sight, conspicuous stalking, because that's what that is under the fake sun. That is under no circumstances the natural environment, when at the same exact time the sun is outside of Tracy Banks's patio glass door over the same property where it was this morning, the same property where it is documented at a sunrise at 7:34, the same property where it remains at 6:18 p.m. These are all instances of documenting the fake sun and the entity that is gang stalking that in that environment. And the video at the top of the screen is where at the same time at 4:17 p.m. the sun, where there's only one in the specific environment, there is more than one sun, and that's where you're understanding what the U.S. government is doing throughout this country. And this is speaking to the inhumane and unconstitutional system of surveillance where gang stalking is also underway, and that's what I remain subject to. All right, so this is the P.O.C.
Right, it is currently 4:17 p.m. and I am inside of apartment.
What is outside of my window in Los Angeles? What is creating quote-unquote sunlight on my bedroom wall in Los Angeles inside of 1806 apartment number 6 facing Alvarado Street, and the bedroom end of my apartment is not any sort of sunlight that's peering inside of Tracy Banks's apartment in Ontario at the same time. It's not the sun that will be in perfect alignment with Tracy Banks's patio glass door, so low in elevation through her patio glass door that's on the first floor. It's so low in elevation, and it's also outside of my bedroom window in Los Angeles at the same time in two different counties, having two different ecological addresses, not going to maintain the same angle, same experience, same sunlight that's going to be created over all of the property, where also there is no provision where the sun ever left Woodside Senior Apartments and the sun never left Alvarado Gardens. This is how mutually exclusive the evidence is while the demons are gang stalking that is monitoring. This is P.O.C. Just want to give you that context when you look at this video.
Apartment 1806, North Alvarado Street, apartment number 6. This is the 3rd floor. Oops. And just to be clear, this is the same apartment where you witnessed. I am inside of apartment 1806, North Alvarado Street, apartment number 6. This is the 3rd floor. And just to be clear, this is the same apartment where you witnessed a so-called sunrise. You're understanding this is the pattern of conduct. This is capturing what is federal group stalking and monitoring, which is a criminal system of surveillance that is in operation by the government. The state of California is keeping me under surveillance. The state of California is group stalking. And this is demonic activity, which is actually criminal because they're engaging in criminal monitoring in violation of Title 18, Section 22618, subsections 1 and 2. And they're also engaging in what is stalking. That's what group stalking is, but the government is engaging in what is stalking. This is maintenance in your path by the entity, all right? And the entity is everybody that lives around you. All right, and the specific environment is where literally where I remain, where you're looking at what is engineered light, and this is capturing again the very pattern of conduct is where the entity is maintaining a specific environment, and that specific environment, this is how you're understanding the demonic feature of this crime. The sun is literally rising and setting in alignment to me. Okay, it is starting on this side of my apartment in the morning, and it is setting on this side of my apartment in the evening. That's not natural environment. It's impossible, and based on this documentation, the natural environment doesn't exist in the state of Florida either. Okay, Florida is never seeing the sun. Florida is 3 hours ahead of us. It would be 7:18 p.m. Florida never saw the sun, because I'm going to show you how it's right over my apartment right here. And this is light activity inside of my apartment. This is the maintenance of a specific environment, and this light activity in and of itself, I want to be clear, this is the presence of Satan. This is impossible light activity. It has nothing to do with the light source that you're going to see outside of my window. You already know that. This is the same ceiling where you saw engineered light like illuminated on my ceiling today. This light has nothing to do with the light source. This is placement inside of my placement inside of my apartment, the private space, and then you have what is the light source, which is remaining above my apartment. Literally, it's not just over Alvarado Gardens, it's above my apartment. It's very precise. And that's called stalking with light. That's what demons do. Demons stalk in your path with light, meaning coexisting with presence in your path, which is criminal in the specific environment. The specific environment is maintaining at all times audible activity and light activity. How do you create light activity while you're in the path? Just crossing paths while the entity is, for example, keeping a light source, which is supposed to appear as the sun. You just keep that sun over the targeted individual all day. You rise that light source and you set that light source right above the targeted individual all day long. In addition to that, you are keeping what is engineered light all around that targeted individual, and that's what this is. It has nothing to do with sunlight. You also know that because of the character of this light, which appears all over the place, just like you saw on my ceiling today. And then you saw the second video after I captured that first video, that light activity, which was the pattern of these blinds, it was like scrambled all over the place. It was immediately changing. This is the presence of Satan. Okay, Satan is a spirit, not a person you're going to see in flesh and blood. Satan is present, and this is terrorism, because this is also speaking to the presence of those who are stalking you, and they're engaging in what is criminal monitoring. Demons stalk in your path that they let me be even more precise. Demons maintain presence in your path, which is group stalking, and group stalking is occurring in the engineered environment. It is, again, captured where the entity is rising and setting the light source over me, which is what I'm capturing in Los Angeles. And not only that, I have additional evidence speaking to the maintenance of this light source in an entirely different region. For example, at 4:17 p.m., which is why I captured this, not only have you already seen the entity maintaining this light source through the window of the laundry room, where the demon possessed who live at Alvarado Gardens are engaging in what is surveillance while they're group stalking and monitoring while I'm in my office. They're engaging what is criminal presence in the path. That's a demon that knows what I'm doing on the opposite side of a wall. Stalking with methods of audible activity, all of which is amplified. Everything that a demon is doing, the activity in the specific environment is amplified. That's how demons are targeting you. While they want to outwardly appear as though they're engaging in something that has nothing to do with you. That's a psychopath, by the way. That is in every way obsessively stalking you in the specific environment. And you know that by the light activity. You know that by the maintenance of the environment. That is in every way speaking to the targeted individual, being the focus. Okay, and you see it illustrated in the very environment. First of all, the sun is never going to be present, rising and setting. Second of all, everybody at Alvarado Gardens, because by virtue of living at a crime scene where government is engaging in criminal surveillance, they're going to federal prison. They're engaged in 24-hour criminal surveillance with the government that is engaging in a terrorizing system such as group stalking. And this environment is the direct evidence of it. And this environment is present where criminal activity creation is underway. And this is at the ease with which they do so. It's also the ease with which they catch more time in federal prison. That's called impunity. And you are inherently engaging in what is an impermissible threat, where you are living at the crime scene, where you are working at the crime scene. This is an intolerable level of aid provided to a corrupt government who is threatening the life, the very existence, the well-being, all right, and the physical safety of the targeted individual. And there is under no circumstances at any time of year, even as I have considered and specifically spoken to daylight savings time, I want to be clear, daylight savings time is relevant to the fallacy that we have been conditioned to accept with regard to the natural environment, things such as climate change. I want to be clear, when you are looking at the direct evidence of what is supernatural, the sun is not, there is no natural environment where this is the same apartment. The sun was, this light source was on the opposite side of the same apartment at 7 o'clock in the morning. There is no natural environment because, let me be clear, while you're looking at demons that are in vehicles crossing path in Alvarado, they know exactly where I'm at. And you know that because I am the center of the universe. This is where demons are maintaining presence. This is where demons are concentrating activities such as stalking in helicopters. This is where demons are all aware at the same time of what I'm doing. And you know that because the entity is placing light on my ceiling, just like you saw the presence of Satan on my ceiling this morning. The demon possessed are focused on the targeted individual. And this is the reality of the system that they're engaging in. So that's speaking to the demonic feature of the system. The government is practicing demonic activity, and it's criminal because the government has no business placing you under surveillance. In the presence of this engineered environment, I want to be clear, the presence of the engineered environment, the stalking behavior of the people of the state that are driving on Alvarado, the presence of the people of the state that live at Alvarado Gardens, the presence of the state that are living on the hillsides, both on this side and on the opposite side where you saw this light source supposedly rising, as though under any circumstances that was 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, that was 9 hours ago. Okay, like I said, the prosecution is a surefire one of the state and the people of the state with regard to the evidence that you have, your understanding. This environment is where the entity is engaged, is maintaining presence that is following from place to place in that specific environment, and it is at any and every facilitating venue. You are speaking, there is a precise language that you are applying where federal group stalking and monitoring is underway, where criminal surveillance is underway, because this is not a private residence. You've established the venue. This is the facilitating venue. The targeted individual is surrounded at a facilitating venue, and the facilitating venue is also where the private space is going to be maintained. And so you have what is criminal presence. This is constructive presence. This is deliberately maintained for a criminal system. And as the entity touches you with this engineered light, which is no product of the natural environment, it's a sexual offense. All right. And while people are placing the people of the state, the government, a massive entity is placing you under surveillance. It is, understand, you're going to legally analyze. That's a massive sex offense. They are all engaging in what is that ongoing unlawful touching for a criminal purpose. And they like to include kids in that. Yes, they live at the crime scene. They make children group stalkers a part of that massive sex offense. Engaging in what is activity creation. They like to engage in tormenting and harassing you in that manner as well. They do so with ongoing knowledge of the fact that they're being documented. This old biddy, Mary France Salon, is going to federal prison. All right, she's crossing path. They're crossing path. This is ongoing demonic pacing under the sun that is present 9 hours ago, all right, rising. None of this is the natural environment, and this is how you know. And you're looking at what is engineered light that is magnified in size, showing you what is leaves blowing in the trees through closed blinds on this same wall, okay? And these are the demon-possessed. These are the psychopaths that want to maintain some outward appearance of normalcy. There's nothing normal in this specific environment. You're looking at malice. That's called crossing a path in light activity, and they're going to federal prison. That's the same demon, Iris Carnero, who's going to federal prison and who shall be losing custody of her minor children, who she also has living at a crime scene, a highly unstable, terrorizing, and unsafe crime scene where she is engaging in the ongoing perpetration of a massive sex offense, a highly demented act of terrorism in concert with the government, and with ongoing knowledge that she's being documented. And by virtue of her crossing path right now, that's impunity. All right?
The entity is engaging in that pattern of conduct of, this is the significance of keeping a fake sun over an apartment complex, and it's over me at the apartment complex at Alvarado Gardens, rising on the living room side, the hillside of my apartment at 1806 North Alvarado Street, apartment number 6, and setting on the Alvarado Street side of my apartment where my bedroom is on the opposite side of the apartment, at 1806 North Alvarado Street, apartment number 6, which is what I showed you at the beginning of this video at 6:13, where the fake sun remained. And my body of evidence on an ongoing basis, I maintain documentation at Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles, where I lived and worked until July 2024. The entity is maintaining this ongoing specific environment on a ceaseless basis, and that's exactly what you are looking at here. While you see this fake sun, you are looking at building 1818 North Alvarado Street, apartment number 6. Where even in Los Angeles, where I'm remaining, throughout the day, even in the workplace where the entity is gang stalking me all day long and all night. The entity has the fake sun over the same apartment building in Los Angeles when I'm at that apartment building, visiting or giving a notice to one of my residents as I was the manager at this apartment complex. And the fake sun is over the top of my head while UPS is gang stalking at 11 o'clock in the morning. And you will see the supernatural while this fake sun that's over at 4:17 in this video, it's over my head as I capture video of that. And the fake sun is over my head in the same manner over the same apartment building. The entity is engaging in what is the pattern where the fake sun is rising on the east side, whatever side is the east, and setting on whatever side is the west of me, wherever it is that I am situated. It is very obvious to see when I remain inside of one building and the fake sun remains at that one building from the east side until the west side. That's how I get where I walk toward what is the where the sunset will be in the morning, and I get the fake sun over me, and then I go back to where it is that I remain, and I get a picture of the fake sun at the same address on the west side of my person. That's how I'm able to get the fake sun at 11 o'clock in the morning, at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, and over the same building at the same address at 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the evening. That's how I'm able to get that. Just so for illustrative purposes, because the sun would never be in a position where it's ever reaching anybody in Miami, Florida, to conduct an arrest of anyone in Miami, Florida, under the sun, where I have maintained a body of evidence showing what is impossible, that there is necessarily more than one sun, because it's remaining over me as a matter of tangible evidence from the beginning until the end of the day. So that is speaking to what is necessarily something is supernatural about this environment. That supernatural character is creating what is it's necessary because it's the illusion of the natural environment in order to deceive. That is to keep ignorant. That is to condition. That is also to present farcical doctrines such as climate change, which has nothing to do with a fake sun sitting at one location all day long. That has nothing to do with that. It is under no circumstances addressing it. Climate control isn't talking about more than one sun, more than one gaseous ball of fire. NASA has never spoken to that. I have been documenting this for a series of years. This is totally this is totally malicious what the government is doing in the United States. This is totally malicious what the demon possessed are engaging in right in front of your face. And this is a pattern of conduct, as I am in Ontario, California, showing you that same pattern of conduct, which is supernatural at the outset. To have that supernatural embodied within evidence in order to prove it, and then while proving it, prosecuting the government that is in fact stalking and monitoring, targeting me, knowing exactly who I am, and targeting through a population with them. Doing so through the passive aggressive manners such as the psychopath Tracy Banks, who is gang stalking with everybody on her phone while she paces in her apartment. And Engineer Light feels it, and a fake sun remains over it, and a government surrounds it. The government includes those that are residing at the unit. None of them are private citizens. This is government action. Okay? The entity is doing so. That sort of passive aggressiveness, that's getting to the diagnosis for the psychopathic personality disorder. That's the malice. That's the mental illness. That entity that is gang stalking by getting out of their vehicles, that's perfectly aligned with where the fake sun is over the same address as I captured in the video. That is at 4:18 p.m. and the entity that is gang stalking in the parking lot under that fake sun with that same passive aggressive character, that's speaking to the mentally ill who are engaging in their aspect, that their necessary engagement in the P.O.C. among strangers. They're supposed to gang stalk you and not address you or look at you. And it's also threatening when the entity is gang stalking and you know the person's name. This is the role that Tracy Banks and Eric Spencer, Shanita Ramai McLean, Jason Isaac Fields, Vanita Jenkins, everybody that's Daryl Mandy, everyone, the people that say whose name I know, who are engaged in the pattern of conduct. That is, again, the entity that is gang stalking. The entity is doing so in what is the psychopathic show of what is passive aggression, while they're gang stalking you as strangers, like 9FXJ932 is doing. 9FXJ932 is engaging in under the fake sun that is at the same time over me in Los Angeles. You're understanding the malice of the psychopaths that fill the apartment with amplified noise, as I point out that psychopathic trait. that you're able to identify by virtue of the specific environment. Again, I want to document that because they're monitoring evidence. They're going to prison and mental asylums for it. At 5:46 p.m., as I point out, the passive-aggressive character of the gang stalkers who are demon-possessed, who know exactly who you are while they're acting like they don't. They know exactly what you're doing while they're acting like they don't. They are stalking you while they're acting like they're not. And their acting is also unpersuasive. They're not actually acting like they're not stalking you. They are acting like they're stalking you under the fake sun and in light that is supernatural. They are acting like they're stalking you while they are right in your face doing it in the specific environment. They are acting like they're stalking you when the government is doing it with planes and helicopters and in fire trucks and ambulances. That's not acting like you're not stalking at all. You're getting past the superficial veneer. I'm helping you understand that. And you are looking at what is nothing other than direct threatening conduct by stalkers who are engaging in what is the creation of illusion, relying on you being conditioned in your mind and ignorant to the illusion where strangers are surrounding, private conduct is underway, constitutionally protected in an entirely normal and natural environment. Getting past that illusion, which are the demon-possessed who are gang stalking, practicing witchcraft. That's the significance of the sun being perfectly aimed in alignment to me at the same time at 408 West G Street, apartment number 51 at 4:17 p.m. And like you see here, and at 4:17 p.m. at 1806 North Alvarado Street, apartment number 6, the same apartment where I documented the 7:44 a.m. sunrise, where that sun never deviated from being over my apartment, which this literal video is proof of. Speaking to what is impossible that the natural environment could encompass, could envelop, while stalkers are exposed and their mask is removed with regard to the means whereby the United States is terrorizing American citizens, and they're doing it in reliance on the appearance of children. They're doing it in reliance on even the appearance of the government, who you are also able to see as the violent, sex-offending, psychopathic demons, terrorists that are gang stalking through the same appearance of that government. That mask is taken off, and the police are shown as the terrorists that they are, including the fire department, including the very EMT operators, the ambulance. Gang stalking under the fake sun that you see over this parking lot at 4:17 p.m. in this video. The entity is gang stalking under the fake sun on March 21st, 2024 at 12:45 p.m. It's in the same position. That's a supernatural occurrence. And it's also not only supernatural, but it's also supernatural because the sun is at the same time, like I documented on March 21st, 2024, in the same exact manner over my head where LAPD is gang stalking, like the Ontario Fire Department is gang stalking, engaging in criminal summoning, just like they did today, like I documented on video, where the people that stayed at Woodside Senior Apartments are gang stalking on a ceaseless basis with them at 2:52 p.m. on video. That's the pattern of conduct. Okay, it is currently 5:50 p.m. where the entity is keeping the fake sun, like I already shown in this video, that is showing at the 6:13 p.m. sunset outside of my same bedroom window at the same apartment, the same address where the sunrise was documented. That is speaking to what you are surrounded by wherever you are in the United States, subject to the same surveillance. And you need to understand that this surveillance system is inherent to the environment. The use of this light, the presence of this light, which is supernatural, it is abnormal, it is peculiar, it is unique, it is relevant to the presence where surveillance is accomplished, and surveillance is also underway on communication devices. You are under surveillance where you live, you're under surveillance while you're traveling, you're under surveillance everywhere you are at. In what we categorized as quote unquote public properties, quote unquote private properties, surveillance is underway. For purposes of prosecution, the entity is exploiting the Constitution, and what shall govern the superseding categories are those which are facilitating venues where you will see the supernatural present over any public property where surveillance is underway, over any private property where surveillance is underway, where domestic terrorism and psychological torture is underway. This private property is a facilitating venue at Woodside Senior Apartments. In the same way, the private property, which is a facilitating venue at Alvarado Gardens, where the government, having no warrant or probable cause, is going to be prosecuted, and the government is shown to be the very people of the state that are residing at and remaining all around, engaging in what is a statewide pattern of conduct. That's the prosecution of the U.S. government that is exploiting the United States Constitution, state and federal constitutions, having no authority under the law whatsoever to engage in the surveillance, and certainly having no authority to aid hitman like Eric Corey Spencer, license plate JABO, hitman like Tracy Lemire Jenkins, her name before marriage is Petty, which matches her character, and her name that she goes by Banks, who is, again, a quote-unquote high school graduate and esteems herself as some sort of highly elaborate and well-thought-out hitman who is gang stalking. And hitmen are identified by their relationship to the target individual. Understand that. But any gang stalker is in a position of committing murder and doing so while the entity is controlling the narrative. So understand the purpose of this very threatening conduct, which is terrorism and psychological torture, where you are subject to what is the ongoing system of what is psychological warfare, psychological torture by gang stalking you, and also for the purpose of taking your life, which is a murder. It's not a car accident, all right? It's not it's not a plane crash, an accident. It's not some sort of act of negligence or some oversight. The entity is targeting, and where it is reasonably resulting in the loss of life, which the entity seeks to accomplish. That's the purpose of gang stalking. The government is murdering American citizens and then controlling the narrative and reporting it on the news as something that is still to be investigated, still something that they're going to conduct an autopsy about, and they are the ones that are fully engaged in it and aware of it. What am I speaking to? The government is essentially playing cops and robbers while Satan is engaging in what is surveillance using the corrupt government. This is not an unsupported and invalidated conspiracy theory. It is proven, and you are aware of it by virtue of the evidence, which you cannot deny, the specific environment, the fake sun that's over you wherever you are at. And that is where the pattern of conduct is underway. And there are egregious crimes that happen within the pattern of conduct. And the entity sought to murder and kidnap me, and using illusions such as mental illness when the entity itself is going to be diagnosed for actual mental illness. And pay attention to the documentation. Not only is the fake sun in the engineer light, which is not sunlight that's covering everything outside, and engineer light that you'll pay attention is also inside, which is separate from the illusion creating the, which is supposedly the sunlight and the fake sun outside. The engineer light inside is distinct from the sunlight that's supposedly the product of the sun in the sky. The engineer light that I've documented, this dynamic engineer light, a body of evidence is documented, and that is directly pointing at the mental illness, the psychopaths, that is, who are engaging in terrorism and psychological torture in the United States. Mental illness as it is understood, as it is defined, where the target individual is not mentally ill, is not hallucinating, is not imagining anything, is not making baseless assertions, not having the evidence to prove that people who are sick are actually stalking someone that they don't even know, and are also targeting someone that they are related to, that they are friends with, that they do have a relationship with, while they don't actually mean you well. That is speaking to mental illness, psychopathic. All right. And that is speaking to what is very much substantiated and is not only existing within the mind of the targeted individual. It is not speaking to what are opinions and outlooks that are unsubstantiated with factual evidence. That's all false. And a lot of the practice of medicine and the quote unquote diagnosis of mental illness are relying on these false notions. This is false. With regard to diagnosing mental illness, where you're claiming that somebody that's being gang stalked, as it is termed, it's currently an unsubstantiated, unsupported, unproven conspiracy theory. And that is the pattern of conduct, to maintain it as a narrative with regard to mental illness. And that is unjust. And it's actually it's actually false. It's an absolutely proven to be false. This requires that laws change in the country, and the way that laws are being executed against innocent American citizens who are sitting around kidnapped right now, and those who are their lives have already been taken. They've either already taken their own lives because they've been gang stalked into suicide, or they've been gang stalked until they were murdered. Okay. And then the entity is engaging in what is criminally defaming them, claiming that they took their own lives when the entity took their life. The entity killed them. The entity murdered them, and then claimed that the target individual took their own life, engaged in some sort of unsubstantiated, mysterious act of suicide, where they are, in other words, controlling the narrative. They're controlling the production of evidence to support that a targeted individual has taken their own life. And I'm just giving you an example of the ways in which, because there are many ways in which the pattern of conduct is concluded. And it is always to result in what is the loss of life and or kidnapping. All right. It is currently 5:56 p.m. when you're looking at the specific environment. And I want to end that here, where you're looking at the entity that is gang stalking. Tracy Banks is the third party who is indeed going to a mental asylum. for her malicious engagement in federal group stalking and monitoring against her own daughter. And she has engaged in an obviously false campaign seeking to criminally defame. It's not ordinary defamation. This is criminal defamation that the government is engaging in. And she has done so relevant to this pattern of conduct where this person who was mentally sick, she is an incestuous sex offender. She is someone who is exceedingly malicious. She is gang stalking me with everybody that literally calls her telephone, including those who I know by name. Like Vanita Jenkins is gang stalking with her while she walks into the apartment in the previous video documented today as the means where Tracy Banks is walking in Engineer Light while the fake son is at her apartment, and at the same time outside of my living room, my bedroom window in Los Angeles, California. That's why I captured that video at 4:18 p.m. She is engaging in what is crossing path in Engineer Light and creating activity in concert with the people that are on her communication device. And that's just my gang stalking relatives. All of the city of Ontario and the population is gang stalking in a manner similar to what the demon in Unit 55 is doing, stalking with presence and activity. And the demon in 41 is doing stalking with presence and activity in the Engineer Light, sitting on the staircase, covered in Engineer Light, pacing via a minor child under the fake sun after 5 p.m. It is currently, again, 5:57 p.m. on April 7, 2025. This is the prosecution of the U.S. government that is gang stalking via the state of California, the entire state of California, as that specific environment surrounds that entity where it is engaging in what is the necessary context to understand how satanic surveillance is underway, how inhumane and unconstitutional stalking by the government in concert with the people of the state who are in the shoes of the government is executed in the state of California. This is P.O.C.